My wife admitted something on her deathbed. Now I'm glad she died. I'm in anguish. That's the only way I know how to describe it. Everything feels surreal right now. My wife and I were together for 35 years. We married young and had what I believed was our daughter about 10 years later. I still remember the day she went into labor. I was at work when her water broke, but instead of telling me to get to the hospital as fast as possible, she insisted I stay where I was. She kept saying she was fine. I told her she was crazy if she thought I was going to miss the birth of my child. That's when she started screaming at me to stay at work. I figured it was just stress and hormones. I finished my shift, clocked out, and drove straight to the hospital. But when I got there, she was gone. I searched everywhere. Every minute that passed, I became more panicked. Then my pager went off. It was my wife's number. I rushed to the nearest phone and called her back. She answered and immediately asked, "Where are you?" I was stunned. She was already home. After arguing for a minute about how insane that was, I got back in my car and drove home as fast as I could. When I walked inside, she was sitting in the living room holding our baby. She looked exhausted, completely drained. Under normal circumstances, that should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. Instead, I was confused. Because for 9 months, every doctor had told us we were having a boy. Yet sitting in her arms was a baby girl. My wife admitted something on her deathbed. Now I'm glad she died. Part 2. My wife claimed there had been some kind of paperwork mix-up. A pretty expensive mistake considering we'd spent hundreds on clothes, toys, and decorations for a son. Still, I didn't let it ruin the moment. I was finally a father. I'd waited 9 months for this. So I accepted the explanation and moved on. That first night, I laid in bed next to my wife and our baby girl. I held her when she cried. I rubbed my wife's back. I watched them both fall asleep. It felt like the beginning of a beautiful life. And for a long time, it was. I worked hard, kept food on the table, paid the bills, saved money for birthdays, Christmases, and family vacations. Watching my daughter grow up was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I watched her take her first steps. I watched her walk into school for the first time. I watched her graduate high school. There was one thing that always felt a little strange, though. Nobody ever said she looked like me. Nobody ever said she looked like my wife either. And if I'm being honest, I'd noticed it too, but it never mattered. She was my daughter. I loved her more than anything. Then, everything changed. My wife was diagnosed with cancer. Those years were brutal. I watched the woman I loved lose her appetite, lose her hair, lose her strength. Piece by piece, I watched her disappear. I stayed by her side every day. So did our daughter. But on the day she died, our daughter was away at university, over 100 miles from home. For the first time in years, it was just me and my wife. In her final moments, she looked at me the same way she had when we first met. Only this time, there was something different. Something sad. Like she knew she was running out of time. Then her expression changed. Her smile disappeared. She started crying. And what she said next destroyed everything I thought I knew. She told me our son died during childbirth. There had been complications. He never made it. She said something broke inside her when the doctors told her. Instead of accepting it, she snapped. And then she confessed something I still can't wrap my head around. The daughter I spent my entire life raising wasn't ours. My wife stole her from the hospital, and after all these years, I still haven't found the heart to tell her. My wife says if I attend my childhood best friend's wedding, don't bother coming home. My wife and I were invited to the wedding of one of my childhood best friends. My wife barely knows her. They've only met a couple of times. Growing up, this friend was basically like a sister to me. My wife immediately said she didn't want to go to the wedding. That was fine with me. But when I told her I'd still like to go by myself to support my friend, it turned into a massive argument. For some context, my friend hasn't always made the best decisions. She's cheated on a previous partner, struggled with drinking, including causing problems at our own wedding, and she can be difficult to be around. But she's also always supported us and has never actually done anything to either of us. My wife says she's a bit of a bitch, that she makes her uncomfortable, and that it's weird I still want to be friends with her. We argued for hours. First, my wife said it didn't make logistical sense for me to go and that it would be a huge inconvenience. Then she argued that even if I went by myself, it would still negatively affect her. Finally, she admitted the real issue. She thinks it's weird because my friend is a woman and not a good person. The argument ended with both of us feeling disrespected and like we couldn't trust each other. I offered to try and find some kind of compromise, but my wife said that if I attend the wedding at all, then it's not a compromise, so she isn't willing to discuss it any further. I honestly don't know what to do. Do I go to the wedding or stay home? One last thing. This isn't the first time we've argued over one of my friendships. It's just the first time it's been this particular friend. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for considering calling off my wedding after what I found in our hotel room? My wedding is in a week, and I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting. For context, my younger sister has always been the pretty one. Growing up, people compared us constantly, and she'd always get attention without even trying. We've never had a bad relationship, but I've definitely had insecurities because of it. Yesterday, I was at the hotel where my fiance and I will be staying for the wedding. While putting some stuff in our room, I found a pair of underwear wedged between the bed and the wall. They were my sister's. I'm 100% sure. The weird part is she'd been at the hotel earlier this week helping with wedding stuff while I was at work. When I asked her about it, she laughed and said she must have accidentally left them there while changing. But why was she changing in our room? And why didn't she mention it? My fiance says I'm overthinking it, and my sister thinks it's hilarious that I'm even questioning it. But I can't stop thinking about it. Everyone says I'm being ridiculous, but part of me is wondering if I should call off the wedding until I get a real explanation. Am I the asshole? I gave my boyfriend an ultimatum to finally show me his apartment. Am I the asshole? I've been dating my boyfriend for almost 3 months. We only live about a 15-minute walk from each other, so we see each other almost every day. He comes over to my place all the time. We watch movies, eat dinner, and play games together. But there's one thing that's starting to bother me. He's never invited me to his apartment. Every time I ask, he says it's too messy and that he doesn't want me to see it. He lives alone in a small apartment and has plenty of free time to clean. I've even offered to help him clean it several times. He always says no. I suggested hiring a professional cleaner. He refused that too. At this point, I honestly don't care if it's messy. I just want my boyfriend to invite me into his home. He keeps saying he's cleaning it bit by bit. But he's been saying that for 3 months. Last week, I finally had enough. I told him he had 2 weeks to show me his apartment, or I was done with the relationship. He asked for a month. We eventually agreed on 3 weeks. But he still told me he probably wouldn't make it. Keep in mind, this is a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, and he has all the time in the world. It's really starting to bother me. Am I the asshole? Would I be the asshole for asking my therapist to stop driving during our sessions? I used to have therapy over Zoom. One day my Wi-Fi was terrible, so we switched to a phone call instead. I actually ended up preferring the phone sessions. But during one of them, I kept hearing clicking noises in the background. Then I realized my therapist was driving. I'd noticed delayed responses, and every now and then he'd mutter things under his breath about other drivers. Eventually I asked, "Are you driving right now?" He said, "Yeah, I want to beat rush hour traffic." Now I'm wondering if I'd be wrong for asking him not to drive during our sessions so he can actually focus on our conversation. I'm paying him $375 a session. Would I be the asshole? So, which story was your favorite? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's stories, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another episode. And if you have any crazy Reddit stories you'd like to see featured, let us know in the comments. Now click the video on your screen for another crazy Reddit story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.